Today, we review the new RC8B3e. Did they hit a home run, or was this a swing and a miss? Stay tuned, because you're about to find out. Hey everybody, Jason here. Today we're going to do the review on my RC8B3e. Let's go ahead, get the body off the car. I'll walk you through the electronics that I have installed, and then we'll get on with the review. Okay, so this is my team associated RC8B3e. You can see that it comes with this Proline Predator body. I think that's really probably the nicest body, or my favorite body up to this point for all of these 8-scale platforms. I really like this body. I took the nose piece off so that I can show you guys the front suspension a little bit better on camera. And of course it comes with that nice black molded wing back here from Associated. Very nice wing. Actually, it's held up really well. So let's go ahead and crack the body off this thing and we'll get into the inside. Okay, so as far as electronics, I'm actually running a Savox 1258TG, and really this servo is right on the cusp of being viable for an 8-scale platform. It only does about 167 ounces of torque, and really you probably want something with about 200 ounces to start in most of these platforms, but it did get the job done. The car handled really good. It's quite a bit faster than I needed, but anyways, it's what I had at the time, so it's what I used. We've got this Reedy 4S 5200 milliamp LiPo. This is the new LRP iX8 version 2 and a Reedy 2100 kV motor. And I have to tell you that this thing had way more than enough power. And it just had power for days. In fact, I probably could have turned it down to make it even a little bit easier to drive. Not that the car wasn't already pretty easy to drive, but whatever they've done with the new software and the LRP stuff, I like it. It definitely feels just a lot less punchy than it used to. So that's what we've got going on in the car. Okay, so up front you can see that we have aluminum hexes, the nice blue anodizing everywhere. It's clearly a pillow ball or a pivot ball car. Well, I guess we'll start at the outside and work our way in. You can see that this is using universals. This is actually a steel pivot ball. It has these really nice aluminum caps that actually go over the arm, and I think that those probably create a little bit of extra durability, although I haven't broken the car, so I really don't know. It has a pin that goes in and is retained by a small set screw. Of course, up front when it comes to setup, they're using a blue spring, and there's a 6-hole by 1.3 piston inside. You can see that there's a green sway bar, and the sway bar is retained with this nice little blue ferrule, and of course it's got blue anodized aluminum suspension mounts. Okay, out back we also have the blue aluminum hexes, universals, the nice aluminum, blue anodized aluminum suspension hangers. Of course, this is a blue sway bar with a blue ferrule that of course locates everything. I'm pretty sure there came with 2 wing mounts. I believe that this is the low wing mount. I can't remember, I'd have to look in the box. I think I just followed basically the instructions in the manual when I built it. Blue spring, 6-hole by 1.3 piston. You can see here that I'm actually using the mud guards, but I probably won't use the mud guards again. They just end up making it harder to clean everything. I guess that's it. That's about it for the back of the car. One last thing I want to talk about is a really innovative feature that they've included on this new 8-scale buggy. Basically, if you take out the 2 screws that hold in the bumper, take out these 2 screws, and then you take out these 2 small 1.5mm screws, fold this down and lift the sway bar up, the whole case will come out so that you can get the diff out of the buggy without removing the front suspension or the arms or any of that stuff. And that is super cool, and it definitely makes for much quicker diff changes, diff oil changes, rebuilds, things like that. Just a very cool feature. Let me just tell you some stories, tell you about my experience, and then we'll get on with the review like we always do. A couple of months ago, Associated got in touch with me and they said, hey, would you be interested in doing a review on our RC8B3e? And I said, sure. Don't know when I'll have time to run it, but if you want to send it, we can make this happen, and they did. I ended up building the kit. Overall, the build experience went pretty good, but we'll tell you more about that in the build section. And I just recently got a chance to go run this kit at Thunder Rally for the last round of the Nitro JBRL. I ended up running my Nitro Mugen buggy, and I ran the Associated, this RC8B3e in the electric class. And overall, I was really impressed with it. I basically ran a kit setup. One thing you're going to want to make sure is that the hubs are all the way down. If you're driving the car and it feels a little sketchy, make sure the hubs are all the way down in the back, meaning you're using the upper hinge pin hole to lower the roll center. And man, I changed that and instantly the car went from a little bit sketchy to just driving so very well. And then I moved the Ackerman position forward to smooth everything out, and again, that made an even bigger difference. So Richard, thanks for the tip. I appreciate it a bunch. The car was very good. And as a matter of fact, the car was so good that I ended up finishing 3rd in e-buggy behind Steve Harris and Adam Drake. Okay, let's get the elephant out from underneath the rug. Is this car a copy of the Mugen? Yes, absolutely it is. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at it and see that this car is clearly very, very similar to a Mugen. Now, does that mean it's the same? It does not. I've talked to the guys at Mugen, and they're not mad, they're not upset. They feel like their materials, their design, their manufacturing process still makes their car very unique, and they feel like they have a top-notch, they feel like they have the very best car. And so it seems like there's a lot more people that are kind of on social media kind of giving Associated a hard time. And I think what's going on is that we see Associated, we know that they're really one of the leaders, or maybe the leader in off-road racing across the world. And so we begin to expect extreme innovation every time they release a platform. But please remember, their last car came out in 2011. That's like 4 years ago. And the team never really had much luck with that platform. That car did okay as an e-buggy, but with Nitro, they just never really found victory, right? They never got in the groove. Then they developed another car that never made it to market. I'm sure that they don't want to broadcast this, but it's a true fact. They had worked on other platforms that they just didn't feel like they were going to get it done. And so what Associated really wanted to do is they wanted to bring the very best product they could find, and they tested basically every car from what I heard, and this is the geometry that they felt would give them the best chance to win and would provide the best product to you, the guy watching this video. And so, am I mad at them? Do I think they did anything wrong? No, I'm not mad. I don't think they did anything wrong. I think the only person that we should really care what they think is really the Mugen boys. If the Mugen boys were upset, then I'd say, then maybe Associated stepped over the line. But they don't care, so I don't care. The car drives good, it works good. Let's do this review. Okay, let's talk about the build. Overall, I thought the build went pretty good. The only issue that I ended up running into was I thought that Associated had shorted me some diff shims, and I was like getting mad. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take these diffs apart one more time and just double check. So I ended up taking the diffs apart after I had already had the first front and rear diff, I had the front and rear diff built. And in 2 different cases, the diff shims were so thin that I actually had them stuck together. So I broke them, obviously I split them and I put it back together. Now, in my manual, the guys over at Associated weren't really sure. But they thought that there was a chance that this manual needed an insert, but they don't. So really, just so you know, in the manual, it should show that you need to put 2 shims behind every single diff gear, meaning the planetary gears and the sun gears. And then you do not use a gasket on the front and rear diffs. And I know what you're thinking, it's going to leak. Well, I've actually checked mine, and the front diff seeped just a smidge. Like, the case isn't wet inside, but you can see that the housing has a little bit of oil on it. The rear diff is absolutely bone dry. And what's funny is the only diff that I used a gasket on, the center diff, that's the one that's been weeping a little bit, which is no big deal, just a little bit of, a little bit of seepage. But it's just funny that the diffs that I built, the front and rear diffs with no gasket, ended up not leaking, and then the center diff one with the gasket leaked a little bit. So other than that, the build went together really good. One thing you might want to know is that when you're actually trying to put the aluminum screws or the aluminum pieces that actually capture the pillow balls, it can be really tricky trying to get those into the actual steering block. And so I actually just took tape and I wrapped it around this T-handle hex driver, as you can see right here. And this makes just locating, actually getting that cap in at the right angle so much easier. It's just gonna make your life a lot easier. There are tools by Hoodie and some of the other companies that do this. If you don't have a special tool from Hoodie or something like that, just take your Allen key or your hex driver, whatever it is you have, wrap 10 or 15 layers of tape around it, and it'll help you position that piece in there while you thread it in the steering block so much easier. So overall, I thought the build went really good. One thing you guys probably want to know is that I used the diff oils that came in the kit, the 10,000 and the 7,000, and I checked them in front of light. I tipped them on their side, and clearly the 10,000 was clearly much thicker than the 7,000. But when I actually got it in the car, you couldn't tell any difference. In fact, I thought the rear was actually a little bit thicker than the front. And I told one of the guys from Associated this when I actually ran into these guys over at Thunder Alley. And they said, the diffs definitely need to wear in some cases. And so the more I ran the car, you could actually feel like as the gears inside the diffs would break in, it definitely felt like the rear diff. Now you could feel that the rear diff is clearly thinner than the front diff. But I think that that's kind of the Achilles heel right now in this build is really the diffs. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But overall, there were no parts missing. The build went pretty good. Okay, let's talk performance. Associated did something that I really like. They put 6-hole by 1.3 pistons in the kit. Now, they're molded pistons, they're not machined, but I really didn't care about that. It's just nice that they're basically putting a piston in the kit that is really used for an American style track. Now, a lot of the other kits, like the Kyosho kit, I think comes with 8-hole by 1.3s. My Mugen car came with 8-hole by 1.2s. And those just aren't really the pistons that you're going to see a lot of guys running on American style tracks. A lot of the guys are running 5-hole 1.5s or 6-hole 1.3s, and I'm running 6-hole 1.3s in one of my other buggies, and I've had really great luck with them. So it was nice to see that they actually came with those. They come with a blue spring, which is a middle-of-the-road spring. There's a heavier spring, which is yellow, and a lighter spring, which is gray for both front and rear. And you'll see that in some of the setups, like in Cody Newmandahl's setup, he's running the heavy yellow front and the soft gray rear. But this car comes with the middle of the road, the blue spring front and rear. And overall, I thought the car was really good. I thought the performance was really good. I ended up letting Richard Saxon drive the car, and he felt like it had a little bit too much steering in it. But I really liked it just the way it was. When the track it might have had a little bit too much steering when the track was dry, but when the track was damp, it was just absolutely amazing. This thing felt really, really good. I just used the kit oils, and I think it was like 37, 32. I haven't checked, but whatever was in the manual is what I ended up using. So acceleration and braking, of course, are very good. I mean, all these e-buggies do that pretty good. One thing I will tell you is that if I had to rebuild the kit again from scratch, I would probably use a little bit thinner center diff. Instead of going 10-10-7, I'd probably go 10-7-7, just because I'm a little bit hammer-fisted and I want to spill off a little bit of that power to keep the car a little bit more hooked up in the back. When the track was damp, it was good the way it was, but when it was dry, I wished that I had a little bit thinner center diff. So I would say acceleration, very good. Braking, very good. Jumping and landing, the car feels very good in the air. It's very easy to manipulate. When you hit the downsides, I think that combination of the oil and the 6-hole 1.3s is just a great combination. Although you're going to see in the video when I show you in a little bit, when you over jump stuff, it's still going to slap, and every kit's going to do that. But I would say that jumping and landing are very, very good. Cornering, now this is a little bit interesting. I've driven a whole bunch of different cars, and I've owned a whole bunch of different cars, and these cars all kind of fall into a few different categories. And the two primary categories that I feel that these cars fall into are A, the front suspension, and B, the rear suspension. And so the front suspension is either a C-hub car or a pivot/pillow ball car. And then the rear suspension is wide pivot versus narrow pivot, meaning how wide the actual rear suspension holder is. And you'll see the cars like the TLR car, the Mugen car, the Associated car, they use a pretty wide rear suspension holder. Where cars like the Durango, Kyosho, and Hot Bodies use a much narrower suspension holder. And I'm not an engineer, and I'm not going to pretend to tell you that I know exactly what happens, but it seems like the cars that have the wider pivots seem to power out of the corner a little differently on throttle. Like when you roll into the throttle, they kind of, I don't know, they just have a different feel to them. It's not necessarily good or bad, but it just feels like they're a little bit more locked in, like there's like a little bit more of a rotation coming out of the cars. But anyways, long story short, I thought the car cornered very good. It was very consistent. It's kind of funny. I was running a Mugen Nitro buggy, and earlier in the day, the Associated buggy felt just a little bit more hooked up, easier to drive. But in the end of the day, I felt the opposite. I felt like the Mugen buggy was. And it's probably just shock oil because the cars are running the same shock pistons. Obviously, the geometry is very similar. But overall, I would say that the cornering is very, very good. So jumping, landing, acceleration and braking, cornering, all very good. Overall, I was very impressed with the performance of the RC8B3e. Okay, let's talk durability. I think they actually did a really good job. I think that by putting the aluminum cap over the end of the upper and lower front control arms, and by using a steel pivot ball that has a really long shank, I think that probably goes a long way towards making the car more durable. I've compared it to some of my other cars like the Durango and the Mugen, and there's no question that they've used a little bit more material in the arms, and I'm sure they did that in an effort to increase durability. So I can't tell you exactly how durable it is. I'm sure that the car is not unbreakable, but I wouldn't say that it's fragile by any means. So I would say durability, very good. Okay, let's talk value. If you've seen any of my videos, you know that I really think there are two sides to the value coin, if you will, right? The first side, it's what you get when you spend your money. The metal, the plastic, all the stuff in the box, right? The other side of the coin is, what does the company have to offer as far as parts availability, setup sheets, driver network, that type of thing. Well, I think that anybody would be hard-pressed to argue the fact that Associated probably has the biggest driver network, tons of setup sheets, lots of support, parts are readily available almost anywhere you look. So I think that they've got that side on lockdown. We don't even have to worry about that. The other side is, what do you get in the box? How much value is there for this kit? This kit will run you about $539, and the Mugen e-buggy is about $549. So they're about $10 apart. I can tell you that what you get in the box is a very good value. Overall, I think you're getting a lot in the box. The only thing that I wish this car would have came with that it didn't come with were maybe aluminum pivot balls. And I don't think that it needed them. I just think it'd be a little bit less weight, and I just like the aluminum stuff. I don't even have a really good reason for you, right? But for $539, I think that you're getting a good value in the box, and I think that on the other side, there's no question that Associated has a really good program going on when it comes to parts availability and driver network and setup sheets and stuff like that. So value, very, very good. Okay, complaints. Let's talk about my complaints. I have 3 complaints. None of them are really deal breakers, but here they are in any particular order. Number 1, I'm not a super big fan of the steel pillow ball. The shank is super long, and it just doesn't, it feels like it kind of has like more friction than like the aluminum stuff on some of my other cars. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and this is probably the bigger deal, I wish the quality control was just a little bit better on the diffs. It was really disheartening when I built the diffs, and even though there was 10,000 in the front and 7,000 in the rear felt considerably heavier. Like I already said in the video, the more I've run the car, they've broken in and they've come around, so it's not a super big deal, but it would be nice if the tolerance was a little bit better. And last but not least, I'm not a super big fan of the pins that hold the bottom of the shocks. I personally like screws. Now I know that people are going to say, okay, well, if you use screws, you should have a left-handed screw, a left-hand screw for the one side, and I get it, but I just like screws a lot easier. It's less of a pain in the butt. You put it on the end of your driver, you buzz it in, and you're done and done. The pins are okay, I guess, because they're probably a little bit more secure. You press it in and put the set screw down. But those are my 3 main gripes. Pillow balls, steel pillow balls, tolerances or quality control in the diffs, and I'm not a big fan of the screws. Like I said, they're really, you know, the pillow ball and the screw are really more of a preference, I guess, that I don't care for. But the diff thing is something that I think applies to everybody, so it'd be nice if they could either, I don't know, modify the tooling or metal parts, or I don't know, do whatever they do to make the diffs just better. Those are my 3 complaints. Okay, let's talk conclusion. I think that Associated has finally released a high quality buggy that can compete anywhere. It works very well. The geometry is good. The value is good. I think that they've got a good kit. Having the diffs that come off, the diff covers that come off with just a couple of screws, that's genius. Having the sway bar centrally located, great idea. My favorite idea is probably those aluminum caps on the arms. I mean, if you've ever crashed one of your pillow ball buggies, like when I broke my Mugen, most of the time when I break it, the pillow ball actually rips out of the arms. So having that cap there clearly is going to make it more durable. So what's the conclusion? Number 1, if you're considering buying an e-buggy, should you consider this? I would say yes. I like the way it drives. I think it's got a good setup out of the box, and I think it's a good value. And most importantly, you guys know how I feel, the driver network, the setup sheets, the parts availability, it's always been really good with Associated, and that is a huge part of owning, racing, and campaigning any RC car. If you're a Mugen guy and you're wondering, hey, do I need to sell my Mugen to go get the Associated stuff? I would say, unless for some reason you're super unhappy with your Mugen stuff, there's no need. The cars do drive very similarly. So overall, I think Associated's done a really good job. You know, in the teaser for this, we said, did they hit a home run, or was it a swing and a miss? I would say that maybe it's an in-the-park home run. They didn't knock it out of the park. I mean, the car drives really good. You get a lot of value here. Everything's good. But if the diffs would have been perfect, then we would have called it an out-of-the-park home run. But for now, it's an in-the-park home run. It's a good value. They've been winning a ton of stuff. We can't argue with the fact that the Associated boys have been winning a lot of stuff with this new platform, which clearly, whether it's a, you know, an average Joe like me out there going out and having fun, or a top pro, the car definitely gets the job done. So hope you guys enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Hobbies.com being our round number 8 event sponsor. Alright, 2:45 down, 2:15 left to go. Harris in the 6th, continues to move away with Eddie Lorette. He's second, Steve Harris, already Eddie Lorette. Here's Jerry, started off in 9th, now makes his way up to 7th after that long first lap. 3:30 down, 1:30 to go. Make sure you guys have your transponders in, especially if you're running the same transponder in multiple cars. Make sure you swap it over. Steve Harris, any left battle for third is there's also an 8-7 Snyder and Nick down for 6-4-7. 6-4-7 plus 8 and Haley 9. 1:15 to go. Trapper, be ready to water. Fastest lap of the race, Steve Harris with a 30.3. Eddie West fastest lap of 31.6. So Steve Harris' fastest lap is over a second faster than anybody else on the track. They're slowing down. 30 seconds, drivers. Race 4 is finishing up. Race 5, make sure you're ready. Electric knee scale on deck at the corner. Alright, time to start. Keep racing until your name is called. Here goes Austin Gun. And we can smell the gun. So just 2 minutes for Austin and Haley. Everybody else will be still racing. Jesus,
I just want to say thanks again for watching my videos. I appreciate you guys watching. I post a lot of stuff on social media like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, stuff like that. So if you want to catch up with me, I'll post this stuff up for you. And you can come on over, add me as a friend, follow me on Instagram, and you'll be able to see things that just don't make it to YouTube. Again, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.